Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Signal Compass. This board features Signal's 3D twin camber, so from contact point to contact point you have that arc of traditional camber. That's going to give you all the load, pop, snap, and drive. But on the base of this board you have an hourglass shape that creates a beveled 3D. So it transitions in from the contact point to the middle and gets more aggressive. So it's more defined in the middle, less defined out at the contact point. This elevates the contact point so that reduces drag when you're flat basing to keep your speed, but it also makes it so it's not as hooky when you're on firm snow or hitting features. This board is available in 147, 153, and 156. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a sunny bluebird day that had firm and fast to soft and creamy chundery groomers. You had slush, ice in the shade, just kind of a mix of all spring-like conditions, and I used my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. There is nothing revolutionary here. It's your middle of the road, if not slightly softer than middle of the road Park Flex. Softer tips, stiffer midsection, with a ton of torsional flex. When it comes to stability, you do get chatter in the tips that resonates back underfoot. If you keep your knees bent when you're going through lumpy terrain, this is either gonna sail across the top and skip, or it's gonna bend and contour with it and you're preparing yourself for it. If you go all stiff leg, stony baloney, you're probably going to just, eat shit and die. Don't eat shit and die. As it is traditional camber, you do have to load this up, and when you roll back on the tail, it's gonna snap. It's not the springiest board out there, but it's consistent. It gets the job done, and you can be a little more laid back with how you engage that camber. It's not gonna be so forceful that you're just pushing your weight into it and hoping that it reacts. You can be a little more last minute and get that late snap to it. When it comes to jumps, small to medium-ish is about as big as you want to hit it with this. The flex in the tips just isn't snappy enough or strong enough, in my opinion, to hit bigger features. Now, if you want to hit bigger features, go for it. Just land bolts. You're going to thank me. You land a little back seat, you're wheeling out. One thing that you do need to know is with the 3D shaping, this thing's still stable when you come down. You don't feel like you're gonna be off kilter with it like some other ones out there. You can actually stomp a landing and ride away with it. We're halfway or third or 2/3 of the way through this review. I really don't know where my editor's gonna put it. But have you gone down and clicked the thumbs up for this video because you're enjoying it? If not, you should. And while you're down there, why don't you subscribe? Click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the programming we've got coming out for you. How weird do you want to get with your butters? That is the question you need to be asking yourself. Those tips are very soft, and that 3D shaping helps with you not hooking up. You can really bend into this board and feel it press. And then if you needed to pop out, you just flex it a little bit more and engage the camber to get it to snap. You can swizzle and sizzle. You can sit on the tail and spin 360s. You can get on the nose and just press however you want and it will hold. The same thing happens when you jib. The sweet spot is immense in the nose and the tail, and you can just feel it lock in. Now, if you get a little crooked on your nose or your tail, you do not have to worry about edge bite due to that 3D shaping. The bigger thing with this 3D though is when you go sideways. That's where it's the most elevated, is through the middle. So you do not have to worry on a front or back board about that edge hooking up on you because you're sliding on a more elevated surface through it. Now with the flex of this board, if you come from the top rope, yeah, it's gonna clap out. But for most of you guys, it's just gonna aggressively cradle it and hold it just fine. One of the things that happens with a 3D shaped board is you tend to lose a little bit of power or edge hold with that. With this, you don't necessarily, except on deep, hard, aggressive carves, and mostly that is related to the core construction of this board. It just doesn't have that power in the tail to allow it to continuously grip and drive through, so you end up with edge loss right there. You don't get that bite out at the contact point. It'll slip out on you, but for short, tight, quick carves, this thing's very nimble. It's very fluid, possibly one of the most fluid and nimble 3D shaped boards going edge to edge. You can just feel it roll from toe to heel. and it really does steer underfoot. This helps those short, tight, quick carves and medium, mellow carves. When you're on edge, it's locked in. There's no question about it. It's there on those medium carves. It's when you drive your knee into the center and push off the tail and go for a more deep, hard, aggressive carve, you have limitations. Once you learn those limitations, you're like, oh, the snow's soft. I can lay a Euro carve with it. Oh, the snow's really firm and hard. Probably don't want to try to lay it over. Rider in mind, this board is for the park rider that has had one too many harsh scorpions and does not want their edge to hook up. Someone that's going to be a little playful, but still wants some snap. Like what we're doing over here? Want to support us further? Swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. So here's the thing about 3D shaping, as I expect the idiots from the Cult of Gilson to come in and be like, this is a ripoff of what they're doing. No, it's not. This has been around longer than them. Jason Keynes has been making progressional design 3D shapes. I should know because I've owned a bunch of them and I've ridden just about everything that he's ever built with a 3D shape. This is the logical progression of his BS tech that he did with O-Matic, and what it does is it decreases the aggressive angles that it had. It makes it more tapered, mellowed out, so it works. This is by far the fastest edge-to-edge power transmission I've felt on a 3D twin park board ever. It was fluid, it was smooth, it was solid. This is what Gilson wishes they could have done with their crappy 3D. And the cool thing about this is you'll be able to stone grind it no problem. You do not have to worry about it like with their butter pad. This is solid. I really enjoyed this. And it was cool that Jason actually reached out to me to tell me he was doing this with Signal and was like, hey, I'd love for you to give me some feedback because you've always been honest with me. And then Mark from Signal reached out to me and was like, hey, we want you to get on this. And Jason said he was talking to you. And I was like, send it. The only downside was I wish they would have sent me a 56. The 53 was the only thing available other than the 47. And I was like, I'm not riding a 47. I'll take the 53. I think the 56 would have been more my cup of tea. But for what this was, it was solid. I really did enjoy it. It's a good twin park board with 3D, and I like the way that they're designing it. It makes sense to me. You've put it on camber. You're not losing that edge bite, but you're gaining the ability to glide better when you're flat basing because it's not dragging. When you're sliding sideways, you're on a slightly elevated area, but you can still engage the edge when you come off. It works. It works well. Comparable boards, the Bataleon Disaster plus the Ride Kink, the Salomon Sleepwalker. Binding recommendations, the Fix Nation, the Bataleon Chaos. This has been my review of the Signal Compass. If this type of 3D is not your cup of tea, why don't you go check out one of the reviews for the two boards that I just mentioned that don't have 3D.